So I think it's my turn, Matt. Thanks, Rick and Paul, for putting this together, man. This is an amazing experience. Really a privilege to be able to ask you guys a question. I've been trying to get an answer for this, and I think I'm actually going to get it today. So you guys all played for a long time. You coached for a long time. QB arm management, especially during camp. So what did you do as a player? What are you doing as a coach to make sure your QBs aren't getting dead arm, or, making sure that they're healthy throughout camp, and make sure you could get your stuff in, all your throws in, all that pat and go, all the throws in, and then get to the first game and still be healthy?
I'll start. I can tell you more of what not to do than what to do, unfortunately. Yeah, I did a lot of the wrong thing as a player during my last 2 or 3 years. I remember we started one camp with 5 quarterbacks and ended up with 2 pretty quickly. And yeah, I just threw my arm out, and you're just trying to play with that. So I know it's no fun at all. The biggest thing for me is making sure you talk with those guys and hopefully they know their bodies well enough, and let them know. Like, that's one of my big things. I always tell them that story, but I tell them, hey, you're no good to me if your arm is dead. And I know you're trying to make the team. I know there's a lot of pressure with that. I mean, you have, all these places, and you're trying to, go move up in strings and all of those things. But it's just important I'm always checking in with them. That's probably one of the biggest questions I ask during camp, more than anything, is how are your arms feeling? And I try to get them to be as honest as they can with me. And if we need to shut it down a little bit as we go for certain guys, or for all of them, then we do that. I think it's like I said, from experience, I know if playing out there with no arm is no fun. I didn't have the biggest arm as it is, and yeah, I remember I knew I was done playing when I was behind center and I looked over at our Z receiver, and he was being press coverage, and it was the first time I was like, I don't think I can throw the ball out there. And I couldn't make a drop and get it out to where I needed to get it to. And so yeah, it's a terrible feeling. And so you want to keep those things healthy as you can.
And I think it's some responsibility of the quarterback as well. Me not being a coach, he's got to do his own maintenance. He's got to make sure he's in the trainer room to see the trainers, whether it's a massage before, massage after. I guess we used to call it milking the arm. Making sure there's ice on it. I'd always had a trainer would give me an ice pack for my elbow and my shoulder as I was walking off the field. And that was my icing time till I got into the locker room, grabbed a shower, and then was able to, just to soak it. But I think the quarterback has to have some responsibility with that. And like Khari said, he's got to be able to communicate freely to you to let you know how he's feeling. I mean, all these kids are trying to make a spot. They're trying to get on the team. But they also got to be honest with you, because you're trying to get something done as a head coach or a coordinator to position yourself offensively. We need to get this in, then we got to go to the next thing. So I think it's very important again, back to that communication between you and your quarterbacks on a daily basis. Ask them how the arm's doing. When you start smelling the red hot and the Bengay in the meeting rooms, then we need to do a little more run game and stuff like that. So, and there's no secret. I've always iced from the inside out with cold beer. So that's just been the way I've done it. So, but that may not be what you guys want to do with your players and stuff, but that was later on in the career. But usually that was how most of the time I did it, from near the tail end of the season.
Oh my goodness.
I love it. Inside out.
And the athlete has to know his body. And Danny Mac, you knew your body. That's important.
Thank you, AC.
So Sheriff, I think now at the college level, these kids' arms, they could go forever, right? So I think for us, we got to make sure that that one, we have, we're going to have our 4 quarterbacks and we're going to monitor those. But I think these guys could just keep throwing and throwing forever. But I do believe that, us as coaches, we could see if somebody's limping or not going at their full speed. If there's something on film that you're saying, I could see that his arm is tired, then you got to sit down and talk to him. And that's where it comes back to the responsibility of the athlete, right? But sometimes these guys, like, this might be their only chance, and they're going to just keep throwing and throwing like there's no tomorrow. But I think that's where us as coaches, the training staff could step in when you could see it, that there's going to be an issue because he just doesn't have the same philosophy. So I think that the younger they are, I think their arms are going to be okay. We just got to monitor that. And then, professionally, again, when you're first starting up, you're throwing the ball like crazy and not worrying too much about your arm. And I think there comes a point in every athlete's career, after, 4, 5, 6 years, you start to realize I can't get away with the things that I used to do. And a fine example of that was S.J. Green. Estray, we got him, we had him young and developed his career, and he would see, because I had him, pretty much the last 3 or 4 years of my career. And at that time I was eating so well, I was training a certain way, and he would always laugh at me, right? Because he would come in with McDonald's, with fries, and I'm like, one day, Estray, you'll see that it's gonna hit you. And after 7, 8 years, he realized that he couldn't get away with that anymore, right? So, but those are the guys that get it. There's other guys who don't get it and they just go off to the wayside. But there's those guys that play for multiple years that figure out that they have to change something up in order to extend their career, whatever that is, taking care of the body more, running less. I know for myself, later on in my career, like the last 5 years of my career, I hardly threw at all in the off season. I think I threw probably 2 weeks before camp, just to get my arm ready for camp. And then once I got into camp, then I was good to go. And if my arm was sore, I would tell the coach, okay, coach, my arm is sore. And then I wouldn't throw one-on-one. And I wouldn't throw scally. I would just take some reps off. So that's one way of managing it. But I know for myself, I threw a whole lot less during the off season and almost nothing when it came down to the last 5 years. So I just think, again, the younger they are, they're going to be fine. But us as coaches, we evaluate, and then there's going to have to be a point where we have to step in and say something, because you see that physically that they're not throwing it the same way. And that's where you could go and talk to them.
Stole a lot of my points, AC. God damn it. I do. I like it. I like it a lot. I personally feel like, for myself, who there was never a camp that I didn't have a sore arm. So, I didn't ice as well from the inside out either as DMAC, but I tried to ice, but to be honest, it didn't matter. Any camp I ever went to with double days, I could not prevent a sore arm. But the thing that did it for me was routes on air and one-on-ones. You throw 12 comebacks in a row. I don't know. Danny Mac might have been able to do that, but that was going to kill my arm for the day. If you got one-on-ones and it's press that day and all you're throwing is go routes, I'm sore. It's not gonna handle it well. So for me, it was, if I could just maintain or manage those 2 periods, I was good. I never got sore in team. Hell no. There's not enough balls to throw in team anyway. I mean, I'm going to go through the reads, and half the time I'm taking the check down so I get that high completion percentage and try to beat Ricky Ray's record, So it wasn't that I wasn't going to take what was given to me. It was the one-on-ones and routes on air that some coaches just over and over. And by the time, practice started, I was, dead arm already. And then you had another practice in the afternoon. We're fortunate. I mean, players in today's world, we don't really have double practices anymore. And, I'm kind of the opinion, like you said, once a day, you should be able to handle it. Like AC, I do not agree with throwing year round. I think that's a mistake. There's so many muscles that you should be working besides your throwing muscles that's going to improve your arm strength. And if you're not doing those type of things in the off season, I think it's a mistake. I think you can definitely throw your arm extensively in the off season, and you just to me, you're tempting fate that it's not gonna work as well. That doesn't mean you can't get strong quicker. Your core stronger, your grip strength, tons of things you guys can do to that. But there was a little thing down in IMG. We were down there at one camp, and they were trying to like tell you guys how many throws and these little all this analytics stuff, and you want to try to make sure you get them before they get injured. But I think every person's different. I just don't. I mean, Danny, you tell me if I'm wrong. I don't think your arm ever was sore. I mean, you could throw it at 100 balls a game, and it isn't games, it's practice. But certain guys just have a finite number of throws in their arms. I think we all do, but some are thousands, and others, might be less. So understand who your guy is. Give him some breaks. I like whoever said the idea of, hey, understand if you're on a second and long day and your quarterback's arms bothering him, don't put him in for all those plays, put him in for the screens, put him in for those type of plays and still have success and still work it without necessarily hopefully hurting their arm.
It's great. Thank you, guys. The only thing I'm wondering is Canadian or American beer. I mean, I'm not sure.
Canadian.
Perfect. Thanks, guys. Excellent.
It stayed there for 17 years. That's the beer.